Hello, welcome to my photo studio and to ProPhotoLife.com. For our second setup, we've moved Shannon into the shade. One of the biggest mistakes photographers make is they try and work in direct sunlight, and that's a losing battle. Now, as the morning has progressed, the light's gotten further and further overhead, so it's going to be more difficult to deal with. So here we are in some open shade. So here we are on the very edge of the shade. I prefer this to going deeper into the woods, deeper into the trees, because it gets very dark very quickly. This gives us a little bit more light to work with, and that's important. We can use every bit we can get. Also, the light is not going to be as green here. People aren't often aware of this, but as you go deeper into the woods, deeper into the greenery, your color balance does turn more and more green because that's all there is to reflect. This situation also allows us to pick up some of the light behind us with reflectors, and you'll see a couple of variations we're going to do with that. And just to show you that this is the real world, we have some cars parked behind us. This is the type of setup you could even find in your own backyard. We've chosen this singular tree as our background for this particular shot, and it should work out well. I'm ready to make my first exposure, and to make the first exposure, I just like to let the subject sit the way that they're comfortable, and I'll take the first photograph, and then we'll just work it from there. I don't like to try to do too much before we take that actual first exposure. Okay, and just take a look right at me and a good smile. Good. Well, the first thing I immediately noticed is that there is a branch in the background that I hadn't spotted before. We'll get that out of the way. And there are a couple of posing things that I want to point out to make Shannon look just a little bit more graceful in this photo. The first thing, and it's a very common thing, is that when people put weight on their elbow, it generally locks into this kind of position. Instead, I will ask Shannon that you just rotate your hand toward the camera. There you go. And that creates a little bit more gentle arc. And then I think the way that her legs are arranged, let's go ahead and put your top leg, we'll pull this leg back, and that one goes over top, and then put your hand on your knee there. And that creates just a little more fluid arc to the body. What we're trying to do is to get things to flow from one end of the photograph to the other. We don't want any harsh transition, so that there's a nice smooth composition all the way through. Good. I like the way that that flows much better. Now we're going to start looking at details. The way that a photograph evolves, you look at the big picture, then you start honing in on more and more details. Now we're down to looking more closely at how her hair is, how the clothing looks, and it helps if you have someone else to spot these things for you. So if you can bring someone else along, that's always a benefit to have an extra pair of eyes. And a nice smile at me, and then just a little tilt of your head this way. I think that's real good. Good. Beautiful. That looks great. I think we could be all done with this photo. But because I like lighting so much and I see some other opportunities, I want to show you really quickly some ways to add a little extra dimension. Now I have a gold reflector here. And I'm going to use the gold reflector here just out of view of the camera, but to pick up the sunlight to create some edge light. And now with our reflector in place, we'll take a look at this edge lighting. Good, that looks very nice. It looks very natural. The last thing I want to do is try and pick up a little bit of that light coming over to this side and bounce it back into Shannon's face. So now with all of this great light coming in this direction, edge lighting Shannon, I'm going to use a white reflector to bounce some of it just right back onto her. And that'll give us our final variation. Good. Maybe turn your fingers a little bit away from me, your hands. There you go. That's good. And there we have it. That's the keeper. Our progression here was letting our model sit so it was natural and comfortable for her. Then we modified the pose a bit, and we cleared up the background. We started paying attention to details like hair and clothing. Then at the very end we added a gold reflector, bounced in from the edge of the photograph to create a nice edge light. It gives a very professional result. And the very last touch was adding a white reflector so that it fills in her face and creates an overall glow to the photograph. So I'm very happy with the end product we got from this particular setup. As always, I hope that's been a help. Please come to the website ProPhotoLife.com to see the actual photographic examples from each setup. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you soon.